Welcome back to my channel. This is Adam from Adam's Fall. In this video, I'm going to talk about something different, a little something personal, and an interesting connection I have with an individual I normally expect to have led me back to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as the LDS Church, or quote, the Mormons. And just a little bit of background, I was born and raised in the LDS Church. I went on an LDS mission, was married in the LDS temple, and had 4 kids. And at some point, though, I began to question, in the new atheist phase, God and Jesus themselves, not so much the church or tradition I grew up specifically, but in the existence of God and the rationality of Jesus. And so, without going into too much detail, I'll probably do a video more of my story at some point. I went down the new atheist, quote, deconstruction direction and lost faith in God and Jesus. And it was from there that I tried many other ways to find meaning and purpose. Of course, I have a doctorate degree, so finding purpose through science or trying to understand the grand truth of all things through science. Obviously figured out that wasn't forthcoming. Science is but a method. It's not the final answer. So trying other forms of finding truth, went to under the influence of Jonathan Bajeau, who I greatly admire and followed for a while. I visited Orthodox Church, also visited Catholic Church. There's many great Catholic people that I've been following. And I just found that I wasn't quite making that leap. And it's only when I came across Jordan Peterson, interestingly, in his commentary on the biblical texts, that I started to leave open hope of God. And when he talks about and reviews the Bible from a psychological perspective, he really unveiled a lot of things I hadn't noticed, how many truths are embedded in the myths and traditions and allegories that psychologically fit, that are healthy psychologically and fit within the psychological literature. Really was astounded. It kind of blew me away. And I think this is not too uncommon among a lot of men who have came to Jordan Peterson, not for the political things, which I'm not too interested in, but more for his commentary on the biblical series and how psychologically a lot of these things fit together. And so I was in the midst of discovering Jordan Peterson when I came across a channel from a Christian pastor. His name is Paul Vanderklay, and he's a Christian Reformed pastor and the Calvinist tradition, which is almost in many ways antithetical in certain ways to the LDS tradition. In certain respects, obviously a lot of similarities. But he just has such a non-Christian YouTube. By what I mean by Christian YouTube, it's not focused on apologetics or trying to maintain boundaries or to denounce other traditions or other faiths or trying to show everybody is wrong, but really he uses a winsome, quote, winsome approach, which is, I think it's just his nature of trying to build bridges and talk about deeper things, and culture and society and religion. And it was through his good nature and frequent videos that we could follow that were very interesting that I began, in combination with Jordan Peterson, to begin to see a way forward that I might, think about church and coming to God again. Of course, I mentioned that I visited the Catholic Church and Orthodox churches. Never could quite get myself to the Protestant churches, most of them, because coming from a more tradition where we're not used to bands and than preachers preaching. I was more interested in more the reverential and traditional churches, but I came to find their language just so foreign to me, their culture so foreign, that I kind of was languishing. And of course, at the same time, I must admit that I was quite nihilistic and had a lack of purpose. And so my continued search was to try to find meaning and purpose. The LDS tradition is very high in purpose and meaning and knowing where you're from and what you're doing and where you're going. And so lacking that purpose was difficult. And so Paul Vanderklay helped me, interestingly, to find a little bit of purpose and meaning. He was kind of a lifeboat for me from that perspective for actually many years. And then it was only after I came across a video at some point, or recalled a video from a scientist, Rupert Sheldrake, that where he actually visited lots of. He lived in India and various parts. Was left England and was exploring the Eastern traditions and trying to live within the Eastern tradition framework. And he came across an Indian guru, I think, hopefully I'm getting it correct, that told him that he should return to the tradition he knows, which in England was the State Church of England. And that is the language he knows and understands. And so it kind of has hit me over the years that, the LDS faith is the tradition I know. And as I re-explored and took the same approach that Jordan Peterson took to my own tradition, I began to see the goodness and truth and beauty and really the depth, psychological depth of my tradition, and that there could be hope re-exploring all the interesting ideas that I encounter in Christian and Eastern circles are all well within the LDS tradition and found in my own tradition as well. And so much beauty and just fullness and enlargement, not only of what God's purpose is for us, but our purpose in helping and supporting, enlarging each other. It's such an expanded vision in my culture that, and really, I eventually decided to go back to church, and it was after I began doing so that I just felt the goodness and the striving wear off of me, and immediately felt that I was in a better place. I was beginning to feel better. But the purpose of this video is not to go into that much detail about that, but to say, I do recommend Paul Vanderklay as an excellent resource, and in a strange way, he led me and served as a lifeline, at least from a psychological perspective, spiritual perspective. Well, I then was able to see the beauty and truth, even though I still have unanswered questions about God and Jesus, and it's still a matter of faith. And I don't know if I'll, at this point, get to know all the answers. I do know that when I do encounter or return to Christianity, that my spirit and hope has been enlivened. And so if you haven't seen Paul Vanderklay's channel, I've got it up where you can see. Definitely follow his channel. If you are in a place of nihilism and come from LDS or other Christian traditions, he can be a powerful person to follow, to help you see again. And otherwise, hopefully you have rest of you have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next video.